share with you today was from when I was probably from the ages of like 15 to 18, and Jesus has done a lot in my life. I'm living in a story right now that I'm going to be able to tell of one day. And so this is just a small piece of my journey, but it's what I wanted to share with you today. So I grew up in a Christian household, grew up knowing Jesus, yet when I got to like that middle school, high school age, I would say like Jesus probably wasn't my main focus anymore, and he was kind of like in the peripherals, I guess. And I really, really struggled with this idea of perfection in my life in all facets of how it looked, what my grades were, how well I did in sports, all of these things. But what I really struggled with a couple years in high school was really my body image and how I looked. And then that like transferred over into, I was just so worried about what I ate and what I was going to eat and how much I was exercising or not exercising. And really my mind just became so consumed with all of those thoughts because I was striving for this idea of perfection. And I didn't tell anybody about it. I totally isolated myself in that struggle, and the enemy in isolation was really able to just keep feeding me those lies. And I believed them. I tore myself apart in front of the mirror. I really just hated myself. And it got to be so bad, and it just kept almost building up and building up, that I finally one day told my mom what I was struggling with. And I remember it was like a hot summer day, and I was like sitting out in our gravel driveway, and it was so scary for me to even think about telling her that, which I don't know why, because I have a great relationship with my mom. But I was really scared. And so I told her a little bit about all of it. And in the midst of this all, my relationship with Jesus was definitely strained. And I was almost like angry at him because I knew that he could take away these thoughts. He could take away these feelings. And I didn't understand why he wouldn't. I was just like, Jesus, just take it away. I don't want it. And so I got kind of angry and bitter and discouraged, and I was just stuck in this hole. And so that it got really bad to the point the like summer before my senior year of high school, I could not sleep at night. I honestly kind of felt like I was going crazy just because I couldn't escape these thoughts, and my head was just not a good place to be. And so I remember one night I was kind of at my breaking point, and I couldn't sleep, and I just came upstairs and just sat there with my mom and just cried, and she prayed for me. And I was just really needing breakthrough. I was just really needing Jesus. And so that fall, I had an opportunity to go to Bethel Church in California to their Open Heavens conference. And I went there with my mom and my grandma and my sister. I went there seeking freedom, just really hoping that Jesus would change something inside of me or set me free. Basically, I was just really needing a touch from Jesus. And so I went there, and this was like a 3-day event. And I think it was literally on the 3rd day, and it was the evening session. So this was like the last thing they were doing. And I hadn't really met with Jesus, encountered him so far. And there was a ministry time at the end, which is basically a time where they call up anybody who needs prayer, and they can go to the front of the church and receive prayer. And I remember my mom being like, okay, we're going. And I was like, there were so many people. We're in this huge place and they bring in this ministry team. And I'm like, I don't even know how they're going to get to everybody. And I'm like, even if I do go down there, they're probably not going to see me. And so we went, and I remember like there were tons of people, and I was just kind of like sitting in this chair, kind of looking, who should I go up to pray for me? And this girl, like about that time I'm having those same thoughts, literally stands up on her tippy toe and she points at me and she was like, you, I'll pray for you. So I was like, okay. And so I go over there and she starts praying for me about some things. And it was really good, talking about the promises of God over my life. And then at this point in my life, I wasn't super involved in music. I didn't play the keyboard or the piano. I didn't know how to write a song. And she told me she saw a picture of a piano and said that the encounters I make with Jesus would be as impactful as the view as the Grand Canyon. And I remember thinking like, yeah, I really like singing and I love to worship, but I don't know how to play the piano. I don't know how to write a song. So little side note here, like a few years later, I now lead worship, I play the piano, and I write my own songs. So that's a testimony in and of itself. But the next thing that she told me is what really got me and what really I was like longing for and needed to hear. And she like paused for a second in her prayer. And I was thinking like, man, that's it. Like, God doesn't see me. He doesn't know what I'm feeling or what I'm going through. And then she continues on and she prayed. She broke off the spirit of comparison and she prayed that whenever I look into the mirror, that I wouldn't see what wasn't skinny enough or tall enough or tan enough or just perfect enough, and that I would see myself how God sees me. And really that the enemy would stop lying to me. And I remember just breaking down and just bawling and shaking and just, because this is a complete stranger. I didn't tell her anything that had been going on inside of me or what I'd been struggling with. And I was just hit with the loving kindness of God that he would tell a stranger what I'm going through and what I need prayer for. And then she prays the exact thing that I'm wanting to hear and needing to hear from God. And so in that moment, I was just genuinely overwhelmed with the love of the Father. And I couldn't believe that he gave me exactly what I was seeking for and looking for in that moment. And I remember walking away just like shaking and crying. And this other lady comes up to me and she just like looks at me, she just grabs me and she's like, you are so beautiful and you're going to redefine beauty for women and other girls your age. And I was just like, like it just hit me again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, God. And so that was my never going back moment in my life. That was when I truly encountered Jesus and experienced his love. And I was like, okay, it's like a full yes from here. I'm following you with everything. I'm following you, Jesus. And so I went back home and changed a lot of things in my life. I actually invited Jesus into my plans and he completely changed them, and I'm so happy for it. And going back home, it was still, I had the tools that I needed, and I experienced the love of the Father to get through those thoughts and those lies. I still had to deal with them and process them and tell myself truth. I ended up doing like this 8-week Bible study. But from that moment forward, it changed everything. It truly did. And my whole life has honestly changed because of that moment, because of experiencing Jesus in his fullness. Jesus is so good, and he sees you right where you're at. He knows exactly what you're going through or what you're struggling with. And the great thing about Jesus is he is restoration. He'll give you full restoration. And the thing about kingdom restoration is it's even better than it was before. So that's my story. That's part of my story. That's part of why I love Jesus and I follow Jesus. And he means so much to me because he's been made real to me. And that's what I want to do for you guys and encourage you to start your own story with him. So until next time. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to Stories of Jesus and Me. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the next videos coming up. And thank you for watching.